welcome back to Chicken and Ranch. I'm not in this video. Okay, bye!
Love you.
Love you too.
Welcome back to Chicken and Ranch, or just chicken. Welcome back to Chicken. And today I'm going to be talking about my 10 favorite video games at this moment in time. I haven't played as many video games as some other people, but the ones that I have played have been a huge part of my life. And now that I'm doing a video gaming show, I'm getting to experience a lot more video games and relearning the reasons why the video games I love are ones I love. So it's been really cool for me, and I want to share some of the games that I love the most with all of you. Also keep in mind that because games are so much longer than things like movies or albums, the reasons I connect to them are way more personal, even though they might not technically be the best games or even the best in their own series. These are the ones that I've connected with the most. So they're the ones that I've connected with the most, they're the ones that mean the most to me. And I'd love to share the reasons why. So that's nice. Yeah. Real quick, I'm going to mention 5 games that are kind of like almost honorable mentions for the list. 5 games that have meant a lot to me and I wanted to mention them, but they weren't quite as close to me as the other games on this list. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, BioShock Infinite, and Batman Arkham Asylum. Also, I'm going to go through these in basically no particular order, just whatever order I feel like talking about them, because it's my video and I do what I want. So let's get started. The first game I want to talk about is Pokemon Soul Silver. When I was a little kid, the first gaming anything that I had was the Game Boy Color. And I had a lot of games that I had no idea how to play and never got anywhere in them. But the 2 that I actually did play and did learn how to do were a port of the original Super Mario Brothers, and we'll get to Mario later, and Pokemon Gold. That ended up remaining like my favorite game in the whole series. That whole generation, Gold, Silver, Crystal. And it's what got me into Pokemon in general, and is one of the series that I am closest to. It's one of the games I've played the most, kept up with the most. I absolutely love Pokemon. And when the 4th games came out, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, I really loved those games. I loved the way it felt. I loved the mechanics of it. I loved a lot of the Pokemon in it, the way it moved and felt and looked. I really, really enjoyed. So when they announced they're going to remake Pokemon Gold and Silver with that system, with that newly improved system, I was so in. I was so excited. I was so hyped for it. And it lived up to my expectations and more. It remains my favorite Pokemon game of the series. I love, just like the original game, I love how long this game is. I love how much you can get into it and how they really just stretch it out as long as possible without making you feel like it's like dragging its feet. I love all the additions they put into it. I love all the expansions they made into it, like some of the mini games, the new Safari Zone. I love the way the game progresses. I love just how it feels in general. It's everything that the second generation games did well, just improved and made so much better. So this one's probably a little bit of nostalgia in it, but I think it's just a really well-made game. Like all the other ones are, but this is the one that resonates with me the most. The next game on my list is Sly Cooper 2, Band of Thieves. Right around the time the PS3 was coming in and the PS2 was getting phased out of stores like EB Games and GameStop, I just kind of went on a binging buying spree of a lot of now cheap PS2 games and a lot of the games are not considered some of the best games on the system. And a few more of those are appearing on the list later. But the first one to talk about, because it's probably one of the ones that I got the most into, was Sly Cooper 2, Band of Thieves. I think it's a really wonderful blend of stealth and platforming gameplay with a little bit of elements of like action gameplay. And I love the worlds they create. I love the way the game feels to play. That's probably what you're going to hear a lot. I just love the way the game feels to play, which is what makes me want to play it so much. I love the exploration you can get in each world. It's like several different hubs that you can kind of explore around a little. So it's not super linear, but still has a really wonderful story going through it. And that's another thing. The story is great. The writing is great. I love the characters in this game. And the art style is such a great thing. It's like a comic book art style, but there's like elements of like Saturday morning cartoon feelings from like 90s and early 2000s. And it's just, it feels really great to play. It's really wonderful to play. It makes me feel like I'm a kid watching Saturday morning cartoons, but it's a video game, which makes it even better. So really, really love it. It's super, super fun. Next one on the list is Kingdom Hearts. So yeah, this game has become like, it's famous for that essential gimmick of like, you know, these original characters set in worlds where like every stage is a Disney movie, and also incorporating like some Square Enix, mostly Final Fantasy characters, which is already just sort of like a weird, barely works mesh of a thing. And then add on to that in future games. The first one too, but in future games the plot just gets more and more and more overly complicated and convoluted. But for some reason it all manages to kind of like barely hang together, because one, most of the characters that you follow are actually really good. And number two, more than anything, it's so fun to play. Like, it feels so good to play this. Like, it's a really great way of doing like a non-turn-based action RPG. It controls really well. It feels really amazing to play it. It's really well paced and set up in terms of like the action progressions. All of the stages are really wonderful to move through, and it just feels really great to play. And I kind of like the plot, more or less. Even though it's barely hanging together, it works almost despite itself. Like, it should not be so complicated and weird, but it still works really well. And the characters all, I think, really shine, particularly a lot of the core characters. And I think the integration of Disney characters actually, in the end, still works. It's still, you know, obviously there's a lot of nostalgia playing into it because I'm a huge Disney nerd, but it ultimately is just a fun, crazy, weird time. And it's great. All right, now for the first of two games that are most obvious choice to put on a list ever games. Portal. Yeah, this is one, Portal 1 and 2, for that matter, are really, it's hard to talk about these games as to why they're so good without sounding like a million other people, because they're already considered two of the best games of the last 10 to 15 years. Two of the best games of all time, really. But, I mean, I'll try, particularly with the first one, because I think the first one's a little tighter. There's a really good reason they're considered two of the best games of all time. They're just super tight first-person puzzle games. The platforming works amazing. The puzzles are really, they're not easy to figure out, but they're really rewarding to figure out. And the art style is really nicely simplistic. It's really nice to look at. The art design is really nice. The progression is really smooth. It flows great. The puzzles are always really fun to figure out. And yeah, just all of that is wrapped up nicely together with writing that is as sharp as a diamond cutter. It is so precise, so perfect, and just so funny. It is such a funny game to play. Like, there's a reason it's become like eaten up by memes to the point where no one wants to talk about it anymore. Because the writing is just so perfect through the whole thing. It's really wonderful. And yeah, just not much else to talk about with Portal. It's a classic for a really good reason. It's just so perfect. Next up on the list is Super Mario Galaxy 2. The Galaxy games, both of them really, are two of the games I played the most in high school. And I love the way they play. I love the 3D mechanic of just like being able to just like walk around and spin like through worlds without really worrying about level gravity so much. I really love the level design of this game. I love the music of these games. I love just the way Mario moves and the way Mario interacts with the world. I think he feels awesome. I love the designs of the enemies. I love the music. I love all the designs of the stages. These are all in Mario Galaxy as well, but I think Galaxy 2 took everything Galaxy did and just pushed it to 11 and made it all just so good. It's wonderful to revisit different stages and different levels, and just playing every level just makes you want to do everything possible. I think it's just so fun to play, and I just love goofing around and doing whatever I can in it. It's so fun. It's probably my personal favorite Mario game. So yeah, now we're at the halfway point of the unranked list. And the sixth unranked game that I'm going to talk about today is Infamous 2, which is probably fairly predictable since it's the same development as Sly Cooper, and it really just feels like they took the Sly Cooper format and just kind of bounced off of it into a different direction, switching out the stealth elements for open world action with elements of shooters, modern shooters. And I think it progresses into that style really, really well, particularly with Infamous 2, because I think Infamous 1 had some rough elements and a slightly weak story, and I think Infamous 2 made that story way better. You were way more invested in a lot of the characters, and just worked really well in my mind. Even though I do think that, like, every choice is a good or bad choice is a really dated dynamic that doesn't work for games, period. But I think, and it's something that's dated the game a little bit, but I do think it's still just, again, it plays extremely well and is really satisfying to get new powers and to use these powers and to use them on enemies. It's just so fun to do. It's so fun to just screw around in this game and mess around and just, like, leave the story for a while and just do whatever to collect stuff. It's so rewarding to do, like, everything in the game. It feels great to find as much as possible in these games. Yeah, it moves amazing. It feels great to use all the electric powers, and as well as the ice powers that you get for being good, because playing good is way more fun than playing the bad guy in this game, in my opinion. The ice powers that you get later on feel great to use, and the weapon you get in this game feels amazing. Like, every addition they put onto Infamous. Infamous is already a really good game, and they just added new abilities, tweaked some of the mechanics, and gave it a much better story, and everything just increases its quality tenfold. It's just so damn good. And the next game on my list is Time Splitters Future Perfect. The craziest, kookiest, goofiest, silliest, wildest shooter I have ever played. I don't like shooters very much. I don't get into them very often. It's for every reason I don't like the way they play or feel or whatever. First person games are harder for me to get into. But Future Perfect just works for me so well. This one in particular, because of the Time Splitters games, it's by far the silliest one. It's like from the main campaign, which is just really silly and goofy and crazy and, like, kooky and just, like, like, basically it's just like a parody of itself and of these kinds of, like, future shooters. You know, it's just so damn silly. And also just, like, as a result of that silliness and like almost cartoonishness, you get to do, you get so many different types of weaponry and abilities to do that are just so outlandish and silly and all over the place. So, like, especially when you're doing, like, competitive versus, not competitive, when you're doing versus mode with friends, you'll have, like, you can have everything from, like, very modern realistic or, like, old school realistic to future tech sci-fi to just cartoonish weirdness. Like, you'd be like a World War I fighter fighting a future robot versus fighting a duck. And it's just, it meshes in a way that it really shouldn't, but it's so fun. And it's so fantastic to play. I've played this so much with my friends. It's like one of the only shooters, like, multiplayer shooters I will play, because it's so damn kooky and silly and just leads to such a great time to play. I freaking love it. If you can get your hands on it for GameCube, do it, because it's amazing. Next game on my list, and the other game that is the most obvious game to put on / one of the most pretentious games to put on a favorite games list, is Shadow of the Colossus. Also came from that PS2 buying binge, and just, God, it's one of the most beautiful games I have ever played. Like, every challenge you come up against in this game, each Colossus you fight, it's so amazing to battle these monsters, and also just getting to the monsters is such a wonderful way of building the anticipation for the fight. It's like just a game of boss fights and nothing else. They're such great obstacles to overcome, and, like, they're just, like, the way that the game uses perspective to show, like, just how small you are compared to these titans is just so beautiful, breathtaking, overwhelming, just unbelievable to come up against. And just, like, every fight is so rewarding, so satisfying. Every loss just makes you more motivated to come up, battle it again. And, like, again, weave together with this really tragic and beautiful, tragic story of this person trying to bring back his dead girlfriend or something, like, lover. And just watching what he does to get there is just so tragic. It's so despondent. It's so, like, heartbreaking. and just a wonderful contrast that it has between like story and like gameplay, and it's just so beautiful. It looks amazing. It's the music and the sound designs are both gorgeous. It's just it's just so great all around. Wonderful, neat package of a game. Absolutely amazing. Second to last game, and these last two games are probably tied for my favorite game, although as you'll see, for very, very different reasons. It couldn't get much more different than these two games. So the first one, which is probably my favorite like narrative game, like structured game with a beginning, middle, end of like a campaign mode, is Spec Ops: The Line. It's probably the most soul-crushing game I've ever played. It's such an amazing deconstruction of of third-person or first-person shooter military games like Battlefield, Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, what have you, and infusing that like those kind of games like their campaign mode with political commentary and psychological horror. Like, it's such just a depressing, draining game, which I haven't played it much since my first playthrough. But it's one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had with a video game in terms of just like using gaming mechanics to tell this really sad, frightening, stressful, and really engaging story. Like the performances in the game are all unbelievable. The gameplay is in a way, because it's a commentary. It's an anti-war shooter game, and so it's just so taxing to play. Like playing the game is so unfun, but the story is engaging where you want to keep on going for the plot and nothing else. Like, it's so crushing and depressing. It's just a wonderful tragedy for a video game, and it's really unbelievable. I've never seen anything really like it. There's very few games I think in general that are like this. I'm sure there are, but I just don't know what they are. And it's my all-time favorite like narrative-driven game, and tied for favorite game of all time. On a completely different note, my last game and the other one that's tied for favorite game of all time. This is my favorite non-structured game, if you can call it that. However you want to go about it, calling it. Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U. Bit of a tone shift. Yeah, so I've played the Super Smash Bros. Series for, that's another one for as long as I can remember it, since at least middle to end of elementary school. I played a lot of Super Smash Bros. Melee, but was no good at it. I played the hell out of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and I was decent at it, but this game was actually the one where I actually started feeling like, I'm actually good at a video game. This one has my favorite roster of any of the Super Smash Bros. Games, and again, I love the the platform fighter setup that this game created, and the series created, and this game I feel like kind of perfected. And it's something that, like, on the 3DS, I can play a ton of my spare time, and is where I actually start getting good, because I played a lot of online with this game. And then the Wii U version, there's so much in it. You can have such large fights with 8 people, and which makes it great for playing with friends, because no one has to wait anymore. Yeah, I love the varieties in both of these games. I love the stages in both these games. I love, like, the items and the mechanics, and how every character... It feels like one of the most well-balanced of the Smash Brothers games. And just, I've had so much fun with these games. They've been a huge part of my life since they came out in 2014. So that they've been really big in my life the last 4 years. And just love the series overall. Love this game. Absolutely favorite fighter. Favorite not structured game. I don't know if it makes sense, but it makes sense to me. So that's all that matters. And yeah, tied for my favorite game of all time. Absolutely love Smash Brothers. Love, 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 love. Yeah. So those are my 10 favorite video games. They probably look nothing like your list, which is totally cool, because video games have a very personal relationship with everybody, and that's how they tend to be. So that's really cool. And that's my favorite video games. Let me know if you like the list and what your favorite games are. You should subscribe to this channel, Chicken and Ranch, as well as my channel Jam Pack, which is my gaming channel with my friends Joe and Matt, who know way more about games than I do, so they should probably be the one talking right now, but that's okay. So be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel, and go check out Jam Pack. Bye.